If I had a crystal ball and I could look into this crystal ball and tell you guys exactly where your business opportunities lie looking forward, what is working in the future, what is not working in the future, things that we should totally eliminate, things that we should totally start doing in order to see your business grow and flourish. Imagine how amazing that would be. Guys, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have the next best thing. We've recently just launched our opportunity analysis, and the entire premise of this exercise is to help you guys understand where the holes in your bucket currently lie. Why is that important? Because we don't want to start filling a bucket that's leaking. Guys, for a limited time only, I'm going to be offering this as a free giveaway. It's $350, but for you site shedders, you're going to get it for free. You need to head across to tradie.wiki/grow and enter the code SiteShed to get it for nothing. Off the back of it, book a time to have a chat and we'll see where it takes us. We're looking forward to helping you and seeing where your opportunities lie. Today's podcast has been proudly brought to you by Tradie Web Guys. Tradie Web Guys work with tradespeople only on their websites and marketing solutions to help them stand out from their competition. Everything from web design through to SEO, search engine marketing, content creation, you name it, guys. It is a customized solution for trade-based organizations and it's fantastic. Head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/apply, fill in the form and let's have a conversation.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Hello, listeners and viewers. Welcome back to the SiteShed podcast for the first episode of 2022. I hope you have had a lovely Christmas and a lovely New Year. And unless the world has somehow imploded between the time I've recorded this, which is in truth the 9th of December, and the time that this podcast has been released, I really do hope that you've had a nice Christmas break. I hope you've been kept safe. And I hope you have enjoyed the rest that you no doubt have deserved. It's been a bit of a rocky couple of years, as we all know. But anyway, here we are, 2022. So before I get started on this one, the last episode that I recorded for 2021 was a podcast where I did a bit of a recap on, I suppose, 2021. And I spoke about some of the things that, what's achievable within 365 days, a relatively short period of time in hindsight. This episode kind of stems on from that in a sense. So a lot of what we spoke about in the last episode was focused around goals, but in this episode, I'm going to be focusing entirely on goals and more importantly, how you can hit your company goals in 2022. Now, at this point in time, a lot of you guys would have already sat down and done some strategy work on the business. So what I'm going to give you today is, I suppose, a bit of a framework that we use within our business, which works very well. And we see great success from this, the best that I've ever seen, in truth. I'm not going to go so deep into the application so much of this framework, but I'm just going to go into the steps that, I suppose, lead into the application. So that's kind of an important side note as well. Once you do start on this journey, it will lead you down other avenues like project management tools and getting to the technology, getting right technology in place and, getting your communication patterns improved and all these kind of things, right? Which come as a result of you improving something that's gone to market. And I said it in the last episode and I've said it a million times before, ready, fire, aim basically means, well, let's get it out there. Let's test it and improve it as it goes. So the whole point is there's never going to be a perfect time. I mean, the perfect time was yesterday and the next perfect time is today. So get it done, basically get it out there, get it tested, get it started. And this goes for everything, with everything you're doing at work, just get things out there, get your technicians doing things and get feedback so you can improve processes, because you can sit there in the office and you can think about better ways of doing things. But the reality is until you actually get it to market, you never know. And there's no point in spending all this time and all this money and all this energy and all these resources in trying to get something to 100% if it's not to market. The only way you'll ever get it better is get it to market, tweak it, and improve along the way. And what you're seeing here today is that this is something that I've been developing in truth for 10 years of running business. Like, these are things that I've learned through reading books, through programs, through coaches, through coaching programs, and all sorts of things. Like, these are things that we've refined over the years, and it's as good as it's ever been. In 10 years' time, I'll probably have a completely different take on this. So again, we'll see. Anyway, I want to define, I suppose, we're talking today about goals, and I really want to just define before we get started about, and you need to be honest with yourself here, if you've set goals in the past, have you set goals or have you just made a wish? Now, the difference between a goal and a wish essentially is a strategy. Now, that might sound a bit like rainbow and unicorns, but let me elaborate. When I've been in this situation, I was in this situation for years and years. I read in all these books, you got to write your goals down. You got to, if you write your goals down, you'll hit them. If you don't, you won't hit them, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, cool, I wrote them down, didn't hit them. But the reality is, writing them down doesn't mean shit if you don't spend the time developing the strategy to reach the goals. So I always say the difference between a goal and a strategy, a goal and a wish is a strategy, right? So what you need to really do to get started, the first step here is strategy. It's to strategize. And so what does that mean? Okay, well, let's sit down with a notepad and a pen, whatever, and let's think about where you would like, or what you would like your business to look like in 12 months' time. So think about it in these, and don't just think money. Think about it in these terms. Think about, what does your team look like? What does your customer look like? What is your role in the business now in 12 months' time? How many days are you spending in the business? How much time are you spending with your family? So on and so forth. So make it crystal clear. Like, have a really clearly defined understanding of what it is that you want to achieve, and then put a number to it. So the reason I say put a number to it is because you want to make it black and white. You don't want to have a goal that is, you can't measure if it's been done. So for example, if you say, I want to grow the business in 2022, that's a stupid goal because it doesn't mean anything. Like, you want to grow the business how? You want to grow, like, it could mean anything. There's no definitive number on it. But if you said, I want to increase my annual turnover by 50%, that's measurable. You did it or you didn't. You can measure that. If you say, I want to get 2 more cars on the road in 12 months, you did do that or you didn't do it. It's not, I want to get more cars on the road, right? So make these goals specific, and that way you can reverse engineer it. And we're going to talk about that. Well, now actually I'm going to break it down for you to give you an example, right? So let's say that one of your goals is you want to work 3 days a week. For this time next year, you want to be working 3 days a week, right, in your business. So the best way to do this, I found, is when you've got the bigger picture goal, is breaking it down into bite-sized chunks. So we have a cadence in our business with we call it our quarterly flight plan meetings. Essentially what I do is I formulate the annual goal for the business, and I typically do that myself with maybe a couple of my managers. Once that's set, we then go, okay, cool. This is the goal. How do we then make this? What are the milestones? What are the 4 major milestones to getting us here? So for example, if I said, one of my goals is I want to work 3 days a week. Milestone 1 is going to be, okay, I need to define what it is I do in my business. What are my current roles? What are my responsibilities? Understand what they are. And then the shitty part, then you've got to start documenting them, because if you don't have them documented, how can you possibly train someone on how to do it? You don't want to have to spend all day, every day with these people every day. So to put things in perspective, we have an onboarding process at Trading Web Guys now, and it's amazing. At the time of recording this, we have employed 8 full-time team members in the space of 6 weeks. That's an intense hiring run. That's a sprint, right? That would be a nightmare onboarding that many people properly if we didn't have the processes in place. So my onboarding process takes 1 hour. And I compound it because I hired 2 people today. I had them on the same meeting and it took 30 minutes because I did 30 minutes of it I did yesterday. So it's taken me maybe an hour all up, but it's an amazing process. So when I say document your roles and your responsibilities, I know it takes time. It took me weeks to develop this onboarding process, but it's done. And now when I onboard team members, it's the best onboarding process I've ever seen. It's consistent. They love it. And it takes me 30 minutes. And I've got an amazing asset now in the business with that model, right? So put things in perspective. Yes, they take time, but for the first milestone in this specific goal, define your current roles and responsibilities and document them. So that might take you 3 months to do that. That's a big milestone, documenting those roles and responsibilities. And you go as detailed as you need to go with it. And don't cut corners either, because you've got to think, if you're bringing someone into that position, you want to make sure they've got all the resources they need to succeed in doing those specific things. So there's no point in cutting time with it. The second milestone would be define who you need to offload these things to, these roles and these responsibilities to. Do you have somebody in your existing business that you can promote? Do you need to hire? Do you need contractors? Do you need to bring in technology? Whatever it is, right? So how are you going to get these things off your plate? So a prime example for a lot of you guys would be you might be doing your own bank reconciling or something like that, right? So there's nothing wrong with that, but it can be quite a tiring exercise. Realistically, you're better off getting someone to do it. So when the business can afford a bookkeeper who can do your reconciling, perfect, right? So anyway, have a think about that. Who do I need in my business to offload some of these things to? Who's it going to be? Is it going to be an existing team member that I can promote? If it's not an existing team member, I need to do I have to go find someone that can do these things? In which case I need to start recruiting, so on and so forth. The third milestone would be, and again, this could take 3 months. If you're training an existing team member, it could take you 3 months to do, at least 3 months to do that. If you need to hire people, your recruitment process might take 3 months. Who knows, right? They're big milestones. The other one is equip them for success. How are you going to give them the best possible start to this position? Recruitment. Is your recruitment process dialed in? Is your onboarding process dialed in? Is your development process dialed in? Like, these are things that you need to work on massively before they get hired, because if you do it after they get hired, it's too late. And chances are they won't be able to do it, or won't be able to do what you've got in your head, and you'll end up firing them. So equip them for success. And then the last milestone is hiring them. But hiring them is about rolling your plan out. Actually, hiring someone takes 20 seconds. You send them a contract, they sign it, and then they're hired, right? But you want to make sure that once they're hired, your plan is being rolled out. They're being onboarded correctly. They know how to do things your way. They know who to report to. They know how to report. They know when to report. They know why it's important to report. They know what their team members' responsibilities are, so on and so forth. So that alone, in truth, is probably not even that's something that is always evolving. It's always improving. But you've got to have the frameworks in place so that the team members themselves can evolve those plans, right? So you don't want them coming back to you every 10 minutes saying, I've done it, what's next? It's like, well, no. We hire people that think for themselves. Like, we want them to be able to understand the direction of the business, and we want them to be able to understand, what they need to do both now and ongoing in order to move themselves towards these trajectories. So the first step is strategize and decide, right? And that was just an example. The second step is team buy-in. Now, the reason that we have found this to be so valuable is simple. If I involve my team in part of this decision-making process, and I involve them in the strategic goals for the business, they love being a part of it. If I tell them what we're doing and I give them instructions, they don't really ever value it. This is a lesson that I've learned the hard way over the years, and now we have an incredible process around this, and it works so very well. So, as I said, I'll sit down with our managers and we'll discuss where the business could potentially be in 12 months. And then we have this system in place where all of the individuals actually get to create their 3-month targets. Now, these are bigger picture things. These aren't things you can knock over in a day. It's not like email Sally about the proposal. Like, these are bigger picture things. These are like, I need to improve my customer satisfaction score by 20%. I need to get 100 Google reviews, like things like that, right? So I always have the final say on these things, or their manager will have the final say on these things. But I like them to get out there and create it, because as soon as they start creating it, they go, okay, this is cool. I'm actually getting listened to. I'm getting heard. And I always sit down and say, this is good, but we need to make these measurable. So I might tweak them a little bit and put a bit of a different spin on it. But essentially, they come up with it, and they love working towards these things, and it's really empowering. So get team buy-in, and you use this with communicate with your team, have meetings, have a culture where they know that they'll be listened to, and you value their feedback and you want their input. Because like I said, you're much more likely to get buy-in from team members who have contributed to an idea than you will from you giving them instructions on what to do, why to do, when to do. The third step is accountability. This is a big one. And this is one that realistically defines the success of the whole process, because if you don't have accountability built in, then no one is basically responsible for the outcome. First of all, you want to have clear targets set and clear milestones for your team members. We've just spoken about that, right? So letting them understand definitively what they are supposed to be doing, it means they know if they're on track or not. Really important. The regular meetings is a way that you can pull them back to what they're responsible for. So when I say regular meetings, I'm talking weekly meetings, at least weekly meetings. And you might have a series of different meetings that you want to hold throughout the year, which is fine. But when we're talking about keeping people on track, you want to do it regularly. And the reason why you would do it weekly and not monthly is because if you do it monthly, a quarter of a year is 3 months. You don't have time. It's too hard to re-angle a goal that's off target if you do it monthly and you've only got 3 months to hit it. So you need to do it at a minimum weekly. They don't have to be long meetings. There could be a 5-minute meeting with that person individually. There could be a 10-minute meeting, whatever it is. But you want to make sure they're on track. Create their number. Now, this is something that we've learned with our weekly meetings. Everyone comes to their meetings with their number. Everyone's responsible for a number, a specific number. So you first of all have to go and create that number. But the point is, you want to make sure that people are trending and they're on track. So if I said to you, if you're your sales technician, for example, you need to, or your outreach person, whatever it is, you need to book 10 jobs a week. That's a number. Your number is 10. You need to be doing 10 a week. That's your KPI. And we measure it by jobs booked. So make it specific so they understand. If you don't have a number, it's kind of vague. So if you say to them, your job is to book jobs this week. Oh, look, I booked a job. Great, done. Like, it's not specific enough, okay? So give everyone a number. Break it down however you can. If it's an apprentice, it might be, their number might be in relation to, you might have a survey that your plumbers or your technicians fill out in how the apprentice has done this year. And it might speak to, I've done that week, and it might speak to 3 or 4 different things. Tardiness, attention to detail, listening skills, practical implementation, whatever it is, right? So they might have, their number might be, you need to maintain a 4 out of 5 across the board every week, right? So however it is, create something. You want to make sure things are getting checked off. Now, we're huge in our business on project management. Now, in truth, our project management is likely a little bit different to yours. We're a digital agency, your plumbers, builders, electricians, whatever it is. But I am a plumber originally, and I know the importance of having checklists when you're on site and you're doing things so you can deliver things with consistency. Now, you can't underestimate the power of project management in pretty much any profession. Make sure you've got things that people can check off, whatever that is. If you're a sparky, you're a plumber, you've got your 10-step on-site checklist, when your techs get to site, whatever it is. Make sure people have things they need to do, because you want to make sure there's a consistent result every time they go to site. If it's in the office, it's a completely different situation, but still, Like if you saw the checklist that we run in our business, you would fall off your chair. Like they're insane. And again, we don't do that to remove creativity. We do it to encourage and promote creativity, because these are things I don't want them to have to think about. They just need to get them done every time. And they can operate with freedom in doing whatever they want around that. They just need to make sure those things are getting done consistently. Now, the caveat is checklists are the what, where SOPs or procedures or whatever is the how. So some of those steps within the checklist may and will very likely require process. So you need to create a process on how to do this step your way. Now, that might sound like a lot of work. That's because it is a lot of work. But what you're doing is removing that situation where you have to consistently have the same conversation with all 7 of your techs throughout the week on the same thing. You create one process, you show them how to do it, and they can go back to it every single time they go to the job. Celebrate the milestones. So if people understand what it is you're working towards and you achieve it, celebrate it. So I'm not talking about like taking them on holidays and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be like that. But you need to understand that, team members need to understand that those milestones are significant achievements in helping the business get to where it wants to go. And it's the same thing if you're doing it on a personal level. So make sure you're celebrating the milestones and you're celebrating what might seem like the small wins, because very often they have a significant impact on the final outcome. And recognize individuals. You as the business owner, you need to make sure that you are giving people the recognition they deserve for doing whatever it might be. Whatever you need to implement within your business and whatever the egos you need to let go of in order to make that happen, do it, okay? Because people want recognition. People want to know that they're on the right track, and they want to be proud of doing something. They want to make you proud. Like typically speaking, your team members, although they may never show it, they want to make you happy. So let them know when they're doing something good. Don't just always row on them when they do something bad, you know? So they're the 3 things that we've, I suppose, defined over the years as being the significant stepping stones within achieving our goals. Now, obviously, it's not that simple. Like we have a very, very detailed technology aspect to this that I have built over the years using project management, which breaks down our annual goals into quarterly goals, into monthly scorecards, team scorecards, and all this kind of stuff. But it's not the purpose of this podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to give you guys a framework of the things that you should be doing in order to make these goals become a reality. Because in truth, 25, 35, 100 years ago, people didn't have computers. People didn't have project management tools. They still managed to do these things, right? So it's not so much the technology that's important. It's the understanding of how to deliver these things, which is important. Go and read some books. If you want to read a good book on like how to structure these kind of things, Gino Wickman's Traction is fantastic. It's Gino Wickman, Traction. Measure What Matters by John Doerr is fantastic. Really, really good book. There's so many books on how to design that sort of framework. I would just encourage you to go and get started on that journey. Become a student, learn, and then go and implement. Don't get into information paralysis. Learn something and then implement it. I would challenge you, especially with a book like Measure What Matters or Traction, read that book and then spend the next month trying to implement things you've learned out of that book. Don't just jump onto the next book, because you can pull some absolute gold out of those pieces. I hope that was helpful to you guys. I know it would have been very helpful to me years ago to have a framework in place on how to achieve goals. That's life, I suppose. We just learn these things over time, and I feel like my responsibility is to communicate to you guys things that are working for us so that you can go and put your voice to it, put your accent on it, and make it apply to you. It's not necessarily, these things aren't black and white. They're designed to be a foundation which you can mold to suit yourself. And I have the same approach with books I read. I'll read things and I go, this is great. I'm going to do this because this works for us. Perfect. All right. The point is, take action. Go and get it done. Join our Facebook group. I'm going to be in there a lot this year. We've got a lot of training, education coming up. We've got some incredible new products, amazing new SEO programs, amazing new CRM for trade businesses. Just ridiculous, actually. You've got to get in there. You've got to get involved. These things are designed to compound the results in your business. You will absolutely love them. I'm Matt Jones. This is the Site Shed Podcast. Happy 2022. I'll see you in the Facebook group. Thank you for listening to another episode of Toolbox Talks. If you're liking what you hear, then you can head across to thesiteshed.com where you can join our community by signing up to our Toolbox Talks. You'll get sent a weekly notification, which is basically a highlight of everything that we've spoken about during that week, along with any other industry news that may be relevant or specific to the trades. If you're enjoying the show, you can head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, where you can leave us a review. That would be fantastic, and all the reviews get read out in the show. Likewise, if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from the show and the episodes that we create, then please go ahead and share it with them.